Good afternoon, everybody. This is Randy Apter with the California Air Resources Board. We'll get started here in just a moment. One of the issues we have with the Zoom interface is that it takes a little bit of time right off the bat for people to log in. So we're going to wait for everybody to get in, and as soon as I see the numbers leveling off, I'll get started with the overall presentation. So just hang out with us for a minute, and we'll get going soon. Again, good afternoon, everybody. This is Randy Apter with the California Air Resources Board. Just checking in one more time before we get going. Excuse me. We like to give a couple of minutes for everybody to log in. There are still people doing that, so we'll get started momentarily. Just hang out with us for another minute or so. All right, well, it looks like it's leveled off. Let's get going here so we don't waste anybody's time. I'd like to make sure I respect the people's time who've decided to join us today. My name is Randy Apter again. I am with the California Air Resources Board, and we are here today to go over the Clean Truck Check program. This is an overview of a program that is currently in place throughout the state of California. I do have some things I need to talk about, some administrative things that we'll go over right now just before we get started so we understand how the lay of the land is going to be. So let's do that. Let's see here. All right. So, in order of the way this webinar is going to go, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously introduce myself, which I've done. And the layout of the presentation and today's webinar is going to be this. I will be giving you a presentation. It's a slide presentation using PowerPoint. It's not very long, takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending upon kind of questions we get and how fast I'm able to go through it. I don't like to speed through things because people can miss stuff and questions wind up being asked more than once. So I will go at whatever steady pace I think is good for most people. The presentation itself is just a basic overview of the Clean Truck Check program. It is not an in-depth presentation by any means. There's more information, and we've got lots of different places that you can get that information. I'll be going over some of that when we get there. During that presentation, during the slide presentation itself, we mute everybody and we do not allow anybody to raise hands, or we ignore the hands raising while I'm giving the slide presentation. If you have questions, however, there is a Q&A box that you have access to. If you roll over your screen to where the menu is, you'll have several things: your audio, video, participants, all that kind of stuff. One of the little icons should say Q&A. If you don't see it right away, all the way to the right, there will be a little thing that says more. It has three little dots inside of a circle. If you click on that, it will show you the Q&A box. That is where you can type in questions during the presentation. We have three people here with us today that are experts in this particular program, and we'll be answering those questions as I'm going through the slides. So please ask as many questions as you like, ask follow-up questions. They're here for that purpose, and your questions will be answered quickly in a good order. So once I'm done with the presentation, and again, 20 to 30 minutes, just depending, we're going to go into a live question and answer period. That is going to take place with Anthony Poggi, my supervisor, who is going to ask the questions. You can raise your hand. He'll unmute you. You'll be able to ask the question live. And then we have another expert in the field here from the program group itself, Tony Gazzetta. He will be answering those questions for you as we call on each individual person. When that happens, we will call on you as you raise your hand, and it's in the order of when you raised your hand. You'll get a message saying to unmute. We have to start it on our end, and then it goes to you. And be aware that you're going to have to click that before we can hear you. As soon as we hear you, we'll let you ask the question, and Tony will start answering. That timing can take anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. We've had this particular webinar done a number of times, and it changes a little bit each time. I suspect that we will be done here by somewhere near 2:30 to 3 o'clock. So if you wanted to know exactly when that would be done, that's about what I think is going to happen. One thing that's not on this slide, I want to make sure everybody's aware of. We are recording this webinar. We record all these webinars. After the webinar is over, that recording will be made available so that anybody that wants to revisit or rewatch or re-listen to the presentation can. You just need to let me know that you need it. You've all got my email address because I'm the one that's sending you the announcements for when these things are taking place. So just email me and I'll try to remember and make sure that you get that presentation. At the very end, we will have a few final thoughts and then close out the webinar. So be prepared for that. That happens somewhere probably close to 2:30 to 3 o'clock, like I said before. All right, with that, let's go to the next and first actual slide where we talk about the program itself. The Clean Truck Check program is a program that was actually authorized by the legislature. That was supposed to bring the California Air Resources Board and the Bureau of Automotive Repair together in a way to produce and provide a regulatory framework for testing heavy-duty emissions from vehicles on California roads and highways. Up until this point, there had been and there still exists, a test for some heavy-duty vehicles, not all heavy-duty vehicles. The Clean Truck Check program actually is a smog check type of program, but it's for heavy-duty vehicles, and I'll explain what that is in just a moment. With this program, it requires emissions testing and data reporting at very specific intervals. I'll go through what those are. We do have our enforcement team out in the field doing roadside monitoring to capture any vehicles that are outside the bounds of what their emissions should be. We call them high emitters. And there is a compliance verification requirement or set of requirements for freight contractors, seaports, and rail yards. So in regards to that, you may have somebody ask you for proof that you're in compliance with this program, and they're doing that because they're required to by the same law that's requiring you to be tested. So what vehicles are regulated under this Clean Truck Check program? By the way, I'm going to repeat some of these phrases. I may actually truncate them. Clean Truck Check may become CTC. So I'll try and expand it each time I see it, but it's kind of the same thing, and I kind of use them both. In any case, the Clean Truck Check program covers almost all non-gasoline, so non-gasoline, and alternative fueled heavy-duty vehicles that are over 14,000 pounds. That would be your gross vehicle weight rating that operate on California public roads and highways. A key point. What is gross vehicle weight rating? I'm sure most of you already know this. I just have to repeat it for maybe the couple people that aren't quite aware of what it is. But that is a measurement that is stamped on the vehicle when it's built. It's put there and designated by the manufacturer. It's required by federal law. It's basically a number that represents the total amount of weight that that vehicle is allowed to carry legally on the roads throughout the United States. So that number is one that doesn't change, and that's why we use it. Where can you find this number? For most people, if you have a heavy duty truck, you would need to open up the driver's side door, and on the inside door jamb, there will be a tag that lists many things. But one of the things it should list is either GVW, GVWR, or gross weight. Whatever that number is, the one we're looking at. So if you open that door and you look at that tag and it says 14,001 or higher, then that truck is most likely under this program. If you have a bus that doesn't have a driver's side door, then a lot of times the tag is going to be above where the driver sits on the header above them. So those are the two main places that I've seen it. Sometimes I've seen it on the header of regular trucks as well, if the vehicle has gone through any modifications, but that's the number we're looking for. So keep that in mind. Here's some example of some regulated vehicles. It is diesel for the most part, hybrid vehicles, and alternative fuel vehicles. Yes, anything that's not running on gasoline can be part of this program. That would include natural gas, compressed natural gas, or liquefied petroleum gas, or some hybrid diesel combination. They would all be under this program if they are on California roads and over 14,000 pounds GVWR. This can include trucks and motorhomes. Yes, I know that's probably a surprise to many people, but it does include personal use motorhomes. It can include buses and school buses, regular ones and school buses, as well as cargo vans, tow trucks. Government-owned vehicles are a big one, and personal vehicles. As long as they meet that over 14,000 pounds, they're running on something other than gasoline, and they're on California public roads and highways, they are considered to be part of this program. It's not a complicated program. In fact, there are only 3 steps to make sure you're in compliance. The first one is a requirement to report your company name or your personal name, as well as the vehicles that you own that fall under this program. We have a reporting system. I'll be going over it in more detail in just a moment, but it's called CTC Viz. So that's number one. You have to report yourself and the vehicles into that reporting system. There is an annual compliance fee per vehicle that is due when you report a vehicle, and that again is annually. I'll talk more about that momentarily. And then the final thing that you need to do to make sure you're in compliance is to submit to compliance emissions testing and pass an emissions test. If you do all 3 of these things, you are in compliance with the program, and you know, hurrah, we're fantastic. We're good. Let's talk about step one. Step one, as I said, is you're required to report the vehicles as well as the ownership information. The CTC Viz program, or that acronym, is short for Clean Truck Check Vehicle Inspection System, or CTC Viz. Don't ask me why we have to spell things out. That's just something government agencies like to do, but that's the reporting system for this program. You can find that at cleantruckcheck.arb.ca.gov. I will show you some other links that may also get you to that spot. So it's not difficult to find, but you need to find it if you have vehicles that fall under this program. Need to create and authenticate an account in this reporting system and enter your vehicle, your fleet information, as well as the vehicle information itself. All right, so what does the start page look like? This is it right here. This one has several different links. First one is for logging in. If you are not new, if you already have an account, you can log in directly to your account from this page. If you do not have an account and need to create one, that's right center of the page. It says create an account. So that is where you'd want to start. There is a tester list, which I'll cover more momentarily, but that's where you can find individuals who have gone through a certification program or a credentialing program to become testers for the vehicles that are under this regulation. We also have a lookup table where you can look up basic information about people, vehicles, and fleets that are in this system. We use that specifically because we know people need to, well, part of the regulation says that you have to only hire compliant vehicles. Now, how do you know they're compliant? Well, we're giving you a tool to be able to do that. It's the ability to look up the vehicle and or fleets that are part of the system. Finally, on this, there is a helpful link document or page. I would encourage anybody who has more questions after we go through this information, and if you an hour later from now, 2 hours later, whatever it happens to be, if you have more questions, this is the first place that I would like you to go. Now, one additional thing I'd like to say about this page and the reporting system is that it has been and was optimized for Microsoft Edge. Now, that may not be your favorite web browser, but that is the system that it was optimized for. So I'm not telling you you have to use it. What I'm telling you is that if you have trouble using it in any other browser, whatever it happens to be, Chrome, Firefox, or whatever, and you're not seeing the same kind of things that I'm showing you and telling you are there, before you call us, before try using the Microsoft Edge software. And this is in no way, shape, or form us touting Microsoft, but that is the software that we have used to create the system. All right, try that first before you call for help. The reporting requirements are not that complicated. We're asking for basic information. We want the owner and fleet information and the vehicle information all in the CTC Viz program. You need to be aware that this database is tied to, not directly, but it is tied to the California DMV registration system. We don't have access necessarily to go directly into that system, but we do work with them to make sure they know which vehicles are in compliance with the system. And if they are not, we can place, and they can place a registration hold on vehicles that are not in compliance with the Clean Truck Check program. Any of those Clean Truck Check vehicles operating in California have to be reported as soon as possible. Otherwise, you may have issues with registration. And one final thing that's on this page is making changes to your fleet. So if you get rid of a vehicle or bring in a new vehicle, or you're selling the vehicle and it's changing ownership, those are things that you really should make changes in this reporting system if they happen. Now, the main purpose there for us is we like the most current information. We need that to make decisions on compliance. For you, it's important because if you happen to be out in the field and you come across one of our enforcement activities and you don't have your account updated, the people out in the field that are doing the enforcement, they have access to the system and they can see who's shown as compliant and who's not. If you haven't updated your fleet or your vehicle information and in the Clean Truck Check program, the CTC Biz, and you're out there, they will know that it's not updated. So it could cause you some more trouble. Not necessarily a kind of violation thing, but it will cause you some headaches. All right. So these are sample screens from CTC Viz showing the entering of vehicle information, adding a vehicle, and having access to the information. It typically included with this registration. One of the pieces of information that you really need to make sure you have correct is the VIN number or vehicle identification number. The system will run a basic VIN digit check and based on the VIN that you input, and we'll make sure that the other information that you have coordinates with that VIN. And if it doesn't, it could cause you an error within the reporting system. So it does a basic check. I realize that sometimes the VIN information may not match precisely, and you even though you're putting it in correctly, the system may not see it as correctly, but that's why we have a space for you to actually say that it's an irregular VIN. You can check that box in this on this page, and it will allow you to save the information even if the VIN doesn't comport with what we think the VIN should be. So be aware that if you think you've put the VIN in correctly, you've double checked it, triple checked it, quadruple checked it, and it still shows an error, save it with an irregular VIN by checking that box, and we'll work with you to try and make sure that your reporting is correct and in there, and get make sure that the VIN is working with your system and our system. All right, so that's the reporting. The second step was the annual compliance fee. Now, I'm not necessarily a big fan of compliance fees, but when the legislation was written for this particular program, the legislature designated it as a program that would have to cover its own costs. So they authorized and, in fact, pretty much required us to charge a compliance fee commensurate with making sure that the state didn't incur any additional cost by implementing this program. So that fee is for every vehicle that you have that you report, and it will be adjusted each year based on the consumer price index. Currently, it's in the $31 to $32 range. When we first started, it was $30. And I have no idea where it's going to go from there, but it does change each year based on that consumer price index. The payments can be credit card, debit card, e-check. We also have batch payments if you have a large number of vehicles. So we tried to make it as easy as we possibly could. But anyway, that's that, and you will not be considered compliant with the reporting system or the state law if that part isn't taken care of. We do have some resources. I wanted to stop the three-step process for just a moment because we usually get quite a number of questions right now about what I've already covered. And I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that we have some guidance and FAQs. We also have additional training videos that are available for you to walk you through the reporting system, to go over webinars. Each of these webinars, like I said, is recorded and it's posted up on several different locations. We work with the YouTube account that we have, so it goes up on YouTube, and then we post the link on our web pages. And there is a big user guide for the reporting system. We also have additional trainings. Now, I should delete the July 21. That's already passed. We're here on August 18th, and the next one of these is going to be September 22nd. If you have anybody that is missing today's presentation, we are going to be giving this presentation again. The next time will be September 22nd. And that QR code, which there's the website for it, that will link you directly to these resources. So if you take a picture of that, put it on your phone, and it should take you to the website where all this information is. All right, so we've gone through the first two steps for compliance, the reporting and the annual compliance fee. Now we get into where we actually need the information where the rubber meets the road, and that's the emissions compliance testing. It is currently semi-annual for most vehicles, which means that it's twice per year. Your first deadline, we want you to check within the account, the CTC Viz account, because it's going to be based on a couple different things. One of your deadlines is going to be based on the month that your registration is due. Now, not everybody has registration due every year, so that's why we ask you to check CTC Viz. And the second deadline is 6 months from the first deadline. So if your DMV registration isn't until the end of the year, say, September, October, November, your first one is going to be 6 months prior to that. And the only way that you're going to be able to know for sure is to log into your account and check that CTC Viz account to know when that other date is. It is the best place to find the information. Two things about this. Number one, the CTC Viz program reporting system will send out a monthly summary to whatever email you've entered into your account, and it will show you the vehicles that have deadlines within the next 90 days. Now, 90 days is an important number because regardless of whether it's your first deadline or your second deadline, you have a 90-day window prior to that deadline. The deadline is always the end of the month. So if you have a registration, for example, due in August, your deadline for getting this test would be the last day of the month of August. So you have 90 days prior to that, so 2 months prior. and you can put in a passing test anytime within that 90 days. One of the questions we get regularly is, what if I fail? Does that do any damage? Can you take that out of my reporting system? What happens from there? Well, the way the system is set up and the way it's designed is that we understand people are going to fail this, and we don't write tickets on a fail as long as you're within that 90-day window. What we do is we tell you that you're not in compliance and you have the rest of whatever the 90 days is to go out and fix whatever the issue is that caused the failing test and then retest. And as long as you submit a passing test prior to the end of that 90-day window for each of your two times per year, then you're in compliance. You don't need to worry about the 20, 30, 40, or other times a fail was submitted because they don't count against you. It's just that last pass that counts. All right. And no enforcement is, as long as it's within that 90-day window for each test during the year, there is no enforcement citation of any kind that is written for failing tests. It's as long as you get a pass before the 90 days. And one other thing about that is that if you have to do a repair that's going to take longer than that 90-day window, because that does happen, make sure that you contact us. And I'm going to say this email more than once, and I'm sure Anthony Gazetta is going to say it more than once, but it's hdim@arb.ca.gov. Again, H, D as in dog, I, M as in Mary, at arb.ca.gov. That is directly answered by the staff that run this program and manage the reporting system. If you have trouble with anything going on around your CTC Viz account or issues related to the things I've been talking about already, send that email. That is most likely going to be your fastest way to get help and an answer. All right. I said most vehicles will have to test twice per year. That's because there are some vehicles that will only have to test once per year. Those two types of vehicles are vehicles that are registered as agricultural vehicles and personal use motorhomes. Let's talk a moment about what those two things are. Agricultural vehicles have to meet several different conditions. First, they have to be owned by a farmer. Second, they have to be used in the production of crops or the transport of those crops from the point of production to the first point of processing. I like to say if you're I don't know, hauling anything from a farm to the processor, the truck is still considered ag even if it goes on California roads at that point. It's only if you're taking it from the first point of processing to somewhere else that it no longer is considered an ag. Anyway, that's what an ag truck is. It qualifies to be tested once per year, and that testing is you have to actually report it as such. There's a form you have to fill out, an attestation that you have to do, and you can get it designated that way. The second vehicle is the motorhome. These are personal use motorhomes that are registered in the state of California. If you have a motorhome in California and it's not registered here, then this doesn't apply to you. But for those California-based and registered motorhomes, it's a once per year testing that is required to maintain your DMV registration. And it's due the last day of the month that your registration is due for both those types of vehicles. There is one other vehicle that you maybe have. I think I mentioned this a few moments ago, but if you have some type of registration that is not an annual registration, we have people that only register their vehicles for a certain season of the year, or perhaps they have specialized registration that's only due once every 5 years. You still have registration dates, and those are the dates, even if it's only once every 5 year, it is a month of that time period that you have to register. We use that particular month as one of your registration, your testing compliance times, and 6 months from that each year. You still have to test twice per year in those examples. Now, I've mentioned testing, so we do have to talk about what kind of tests these are. There are two different types. The first type is for newer vehicles, the second type is for older vehicles. And it's all based around the computer systems that some of these trucks have or don't have. If you have a newer vehicle, and I know 2013 isn't that new, it's already 13 years old, but that is the first year for diesel and diesel hybrid engines where, and I'm talking about the model year of the engine, not the model year of the vehicle. Perhaps I should expand on that. if you have a vehicle that is, say, a model year 2013, there is a very high likelihood that the engine in that truck is a 2012 because the model year of the engine is typically more than 9 times out of 10, it is 1 year behind the actual chassis. So don't base this on the model year of the vehicle. There's a tag on the engine that you can look at to determine what the model year of your engine is, and that is what we're basing this on. So if you have a 2013 and newer diesel engine or diesel hybrid engine, these are engines that came with something called onboard diagnostics or OBD. This is a computer system that it monitors a lot of things, but specifically for our purposes, it monitors the emission control devices that are on that engine. It can show fault codes for different things related to the emission controls. And in this case, the test for those vehicles is nothing more than a data download. Now, that's 2013 and newer diesel or diesel hybrid. There are some alternative fueled vehicles like natural gas or propane or anything other than diesel or gasoline, really, they did not come with this onboard diagnostics or OBD until the 2018 model year. So those are what I'm calling new. And if you have one of those vehicles, again, it's nothing more than a data dump. Now, the data dump is essentially a technician who has been credentialed is going to have to plug into the OBD port, which for most vehicles is going to be a port that's located just under the driver's side steering column, and they're going to have to download a file. That file is going to be transmitted to the ARB via an email or the internet link, and you will get a response in a relatively short period of time saying pass or fail. And all we're looking at is several lines of the information that's in your OBD system that tells us how the emission control systems are functioning. That's the test for the newer vehicles. A competent tester should be able to do that in less than 10 to 15 minutes. Now, for the older vehicles, these would be for diesel, anything with a 2012 or older diesel engine, and for non-diesel, non-gasoline hybrid type engines, anything 2017 model year engine and older. For the diesel ones, there still is a twice per year test. And it's the old test that we used to require for everybody that was part of that program. It's called an opacity test, and it follows a Society of Automotive Engineer or SAE J1667 protocol. You may also know this as a snap test or a smoke test or any one of a number of things that I've heard it go by over the years. It's all the same test. Essentially, the technician puts a meter in the stack and has the operator of the vehicle put it in park or neutral, step on the gas 3 times, and they get a measurement of how much particulate matter is coming out of that stack. Whether you see it or not, there is going to be some particulate matter coming out of practically every stack. Anyway, that's the test. And along with that particular test for the diesel vehicles, there has to be a visual inspection. The visual inspection is if you've never, well, if anybody in the audience has ever gone and had their regular passenger vehicle smog tested and watched what the technicians do, they will hook you up to an emissions monitoring system, but they will also walk around with a clipboard and a pen, and they'll look at the engine and they'll look at the tags and they'll keep marking, check things off. And what they're doing is determining uh, based on what the engine tag says, they're determining whether or not the emission control devices that that engine came with from the factory are there, connected, and appear to be functioning. That is a visual inspection. So both those tests have to be done for the diesel or diesel hybrid engines. If you have an alternative fuel vehicle, because there is no protocol for emissions test per se, then it's just the visual inspection that's required. That is the test. All right. Now, I spent a lot of time on that, so let's go straight to who can actually perform the test. In order to do the test legally and report it to ARB, there's only 2 ways this can happen. Number one is a credentialed tester. That is somebody who has gone through uh, a short free online course that is produced and available by the ARB. It's up on YouTube, and it's a series of videos where we walk you through what the program is and why it's there and what the requirements are. And at the end of watching, I think it's 5 or 6 videos, you have to take a test and pass that test with an 80% or better. If you do, then you are considered a credentialed tester for 2 years. Every 2 years, you have to renew the credential. This credential doesn't cost anything to do. It's free, 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 free. It's online. You can take it any time of day from anywhere. As long as you have an internet connection, it's there, it's ready to go. Um, the credential that the reason this was put up this way is we knew that there were going to be vehicles coming in from out of state, and we knew there were going to be a lot of vehicles that weren't required to be tested before that are now. And we wanted to have a wide variety of locations and people that they could go to get this testing. I said there were 2 ways. That's the main way. The second way is to use some sort of OBD telematics device. Telematics, a lot of vehicles, a lot of trucks and companies use other companies to monitor how, their vehicle is operating and how much it's operating for other purposes, like for the safety reasons. It's how long you can drive a truck and how many hours and all that kind of stuff. DOT requirements are done that way. These are done by companies that put a little plug in your OBD system that transmits data through the cellular system wherever the truck drives, and they're constantly getting data and reporting what they need to for you. Some of those service providers that do this are also certified by us to provide the information for this program. If you have a telematic service provider, it might be in your best interest. If you don't want to deal with the testing, like I was talking about before, have them do this kind of testing for you. That way it's in the background, it happens automatically. You pay somebody to do it, and voila, if there's a problem, they'll tell you, but obviously it's reported to us on an automatic basis. All right. Uh, I did mention this earlier, and I showed you this login screen or this screen that where all of the CTC Viz program is. I told you there was a tester list. Now, one of the things that we've had happen, a lot of questions, in fact, from people who can't seem to find somebody who's credentialed to do the testing for them. Now, depending on where you are, I understand that can be a problem. Maybe there's nobody within a reasonable distance of you to do your testing. But there are two couple different kinds of testers out there. There are testers that you go to them, and there's testers that come to you. So we've created a list. Anytime somebody goes through the testing, the credentialing program, and becomes a credentialed tester, they're given the option to select whether or not they want their information to be public for purposes of people finding them to do these tests. If they have given us that permission, and it's just a box they have to check, then when you click on this tester list, it's going to come up with a page where you can input some information about where you are, city, state, zip, all that kind of information. And it will give you a list of the people that are credentialed near you. The list is kept pretty up to date, and I would encourage you to try this rather than just doing a web search. We've had some problem with people who just do web searches and get bad companies and false information that way. So that's why one of the reasons why we put it up this way is we wanted to make sure the correct information and all the testers that were available that wanted to be listed have been listed for you to choose. I did mention in the testing process that there are devices necessary to conduct these tests. Now, whether it is a certified telematic service provider or a credentialed tester, they both have devices that they have to use to perform these tests that have gone through a screening process here at the Air Resources Board and have been designated as certified to do the test. So there's a list of these. It changes periodically depending upon companies that want their devices to be certified. Once a device is certified, it goes up on the list. There's a web page right there, and you can see either the telematic service provider lists or the list of devices for credentialed testers to use. So make sure that if you are hiring somebody to do this, that they are using a device that has been certified as well. And we're done with the basic information for this program, but I did want to go over a couple of basic questions that are pretty common for us. And one of the main ones is it revolves around whether or not you're buying or selling a vehicle that falls under the auspices of this program. If you are buying one, you should make sure that the vehicle was compliant 90 days prior to the purchase. You can go into our system and check. You can ask the person you're purchasing it from for their compliance certificate and check when it was issued. Report your vehicle if you purchase one within the 30 days, as I said, to the CTC Viz program. If there's an annual compliance fee due, make sure you pay it within that program, and then the testing the vehicle whenever the next test cycle is due. If you're selling a vehicle, it's more important for you to deactivate than anything else, as far as we're concerned, because the way this program works is two people can't own the same vehicle, can't be responsible for the same vehicle. So if you've sold a vehicle and somebody else is trying to add it to their account before you have deleted it from yours, they're going to have trouble. So make sure that you do that as quickly as possible for just their purposes, but also because you don't want to be held responsible for a vehicle that you no longer operate or own. So make sure you do that as quickly as you can. If you want to close your CTC Viz account because you have no more vehicles that are subject to this regulation, that HDIM at arb.ca.gov is where you're going to have to go after you removed all the vehicles from your CTC Viz account. I did want to talk just a little bit about the outreach that we've performed because we have people who oftentimes will tell us that we're either not doing enough or we should do more. We have sent out hundreds of thousands of emailers and direct mail postcards. We have industry meetings with associations on a regular basis and have had for years. We record every single one of these trainings and make it available for anybody that wants to view them. We have CARB staff at different events. We're going to be doing some trucker appreciation days here in the near future at some of the way stations. So we're putting ourselves out there to make sure people have questions, they can get answers. And we have videos and bookmarks at DMV offices statewide. All right, so let's answer a few questions here. We're almost done. These are some very common questions. Will I be notified when a vehicle needs to test? I did mention that. I told you that CTC Viz sends out a monthly email to any account owner with a summary of the vehicles in your system, and it should list the ones that are due for testing. How do I submit test results? If you were listening about the credentialed tester, then you know that only somebody that has gone through the credentialing program is legally allowed to submit results to CARB. So it's either that or the onboard telematics. But those anybody who does that, that's how you get the test to us. Where can I find my vehicle's test results? For owners, it's in your CTC Viz account under the vehicle details page. Look for the VIN. For credentialed testers, they do have an account. They have to create an account in CTC Viz as well, and they can access the vehicles that they've tested to find out, what the test results are. All right. Let's see. I think that's it for that. Let's go to email and links, and then we'll go directly to questions. So I've got the email that I've mentioned a couple times. It's hdim@arb.ca.gov. That is the first place that I want you to go to if you ever have any issues with reporting or with the regulatory requirements. And somebody like Tony would be answering that right away. The Clean Truck Vehicle Inspection System, or CTC Viz, we've mentioned that several times. This is the page where you'd report. There's the link again. And we've got more information for anybody that needs additional information. Now, at this point, let me see if I can find this participants. We're going to open it up to questions. And let me open this up real wide. If you have questions, now is your opportunity to ask them live. Raise your hand, and I will call on you one at a time until Tony Anthony Poggi gets here. Mr. Gazetta, are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, so we've got one hand raised. It's by Gregory Power. I'm gonna hit the button, allow you to talk. Gregory, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So go ahead with your question.
Okay, I'm a small private school. We have Bluebird diesel buses. I have a 2012 Bluebird. It has OBD on it, but because my engine year is 2011, I'm kind of forced to use the smoke test. Is that true?
That's correct. Yeah. So while some older vehicles may have like an OBD port, they don't necessarily have the OBD2 testing capability, which is the OBD capability that CARB has certified as the OBD2 testing capability. So if it's a 2011 diesel engine, it would be subject to the non-OBD or the opacity and visual inspection test for that vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, I have both systems, so that was a really expensive one, by the way, getting that system for the smoke test. Uh,
Yeah, we know.
yeah,
We know.
that was. I mean, you know, 5 times the cost of the other one. Um, the I have another question.
Mhm.
So this is more generic as far as policy here at the state and whatnot. I have to tell you, I'm blowing zeros all the time. Has there been any consideration by CARB or the state of California to allow additional diesel-powered school buses to be registered and utilized in California? I'm just
Do
saying
you?
the system is really clean. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as they're maintained and everything like that, it should stay relatively clean. Could you maybe clarify a little bit more on
I want to
the
buy another
question?
diesel bus, but I don't think I can get it registered in the state of California because of the current the way things are on the books.
That I'm not too sure on. You would probably want to contact the truck and bus regulation group regarding that. I believe that would be the correct one to contact. Let me put their email address in the chat if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last one. And
Yes.
this is just a question of curiosity. If I have a school bus that's converted to a motorhome, will we be placing the compliance requirements for that vehicle as a motorhome now that's no longer being utilized as a school bus?
If it's a recreational motorhome, yes. And of course, registered in California.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. I mean, the registration was the same, but the use might change.
Yeah, you would also need to. So if you're taking a school bus and converting it to a motorhome, depending on the model year of it, you might have to go back to the truck and bus regulation group to get it
Okay,
into the excluded diesel vehicle reporting
okay,
program, which I'm not going to go too much into since it's a different program, different regulation. That email address I put in the chat would be able to
thank
help
you.
you with that. And then in terms of clean truck check, you probably would need to get it evaluated by the CARB referee so that they can confirm it's been converted to a motorhome and it meets the motorhome criteria. And if that is to come up, go ahead and send us a link, an email at the email address on the screen, and we can assist you with that.
Is it so 8666 diesel at arb.ca.gov is the address?
That's for the truck and bus regulation
Yeah,
group.
right.
And then the clean truck check group is the HDIM
Yeah, I
email
got that one
address.
already. Okay.
Okay,
All
cool.
right. So that answers all my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we're a little low on questions right now. Does anybody have any additional questions they'd like to ask? All right. So saw somebody raise a hand, then put it right back down. So, oh, we got one attendee, Michael Torres. I'm going to hit allow to talk if you want to unmute yourself. I see that you've unmuted. I can't hear you. Do you have a speaker, Mr. Torres? Because it's your microphone says it's unmuted, but there's no audio coming across. Uh, okay, I seem to be having an issue there. So I'm going to mute you for right now. I'll keep your hand raised. I'll come back to you in just a second. Does anybody else have any additional questions? So please raise your hand at this point. We don't have any in the queue. We've got one question in the Q&A box that's being answered by Dylan. But other than that, we're here at your disposal. If you have questions that Anthony can,
Oh, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
that's Michelle. Is it Michelle or
Yeah.
Michael Torres? No.
It's a Michelle. It's
All
Michelle.
right. All right, Michelle, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. Okay, my question is, after the 90 days is gone and the vehicle's not compliant and it becomes compliant, does it update in the system to show compliant or does it stay non-compliant?
It should update in the system as soon as the system basically verifies that all the compliance requirements for that cycle have been met.
It should pass. It should show compliant. And the same thing if a truck is added after a new truck is added after the 30 days or the 90 days. Our issue has been it's not compliant as far as the clean truck system requirements, but it's compliant as far as CARB. It's emissions compliant, but just not compliant on the timing. So we run into issues in the past where it's showing the truck's not compliant when that's not a true picture of the emissions. It's more an issue with the clean truck program. So I'm not sure if that's been updated. It looks like it was being addressed, but I just don't know if you know that to be true.
So if you're talking about a brand new vehicle, like, are you talking about a brand new vehicle?
I'm talking about a brand new vehicle and vehicles that are not brand new for the most part, but you could go both ways and let me know.
Yeah, so brand new vehicles, there was a feature added into the recent system update that when you report a brand new vehicle, you can mark it as a brand new vehicle. So it needs to be reported within 30 days of purchase. So within 30 days of that purchase date, and then have any applicable compliance fees paid. In terms of used vehicles that are being added to your account for the first time, the system may not show it as compliant if the test was performed more than 90 days beforehand. So in those cases, what I would do is look at the test history for the vehicle if you can. And if it didn't meet its previous testing requirement, it would need to be tested again pretty much immediately. But if you believe that it did meet its previous test requirement and hasn't hit that new testing due date yet, go ahead and send us an email with the VIN and we'll take a look into it.
Okay, perfect. I do email back and forth a lot with the and the guys there are great as far as answering the questions and resolving issues. So on the other question was when it's not a new truck or a new truck. So the purchase date is kind of irrelevant because they order these trucks years in advance. So we were going to use the registration date because the purchase date is not relevant because it's not on the road until it's actually registered. And so is there an issue with that? Because basically as soon as it's registered, then it's on the road and it would be added to clean truck within the 30 days.
So are these vehicles like upfitted at all with anything?
Yeah, these are brand new trucks. Yeah, these are brand new Peterbilts for the most part that have been ordered and just we're receiving them from the factory, say 6 months after the order date or a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you could essentially treat the date you received it as the purchase date. Obviously, you're not going to report a vehicle if you don't have all the information. So like, VIN or things like that, we know that can take a little while to get from the manufacturer.
okay.
So in those cases, yeah, once they're delivered, I would go ahead and report them as soon as possible, mark them as brand new, and then proceed from there.
Okay, so on a truck that we have out of state, for example, a fleet out of state, and we're going to bring it into Arizona and California, and it's Arizona based, for example, and we've had it for a couple of years, and now we're bringing it into California. It's not going to be a new truck.
Correct.
So then, well, we want to add it to clean truck because the parameters of travel have changed. So we just use then the date that we're going to now bring it into California what date are we using for that?
So you wouldn't use a date for that. So let's say you're bringing a 2024 truck into the state for the first time. That's not considered a brand new vehicle. Whereas if you're adding like a 2027 model year truck to your fleet, that would be considered a brand new vehicle.
Okay, so it only applies to brand new vehicles.
Brand new, correct.
Okay, that resolved that problem. Then I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, if we go back to that example, that 2024, you would need to add it to your account. It just wouldn't be considered brand new. So it would have to meet compliance requirements or get a 5-day pass before coming in.
All right,
So when we add it to Clean Truck and we pay the fees, then it's going to evaluate when the testing should be done.
Correct. Yeah. If it's registered out of state, it'll be based on the last digit of the VIN. But because this vehicle, essentially would have already had to have tested if it was in California, usually it'll show up as non-compliant and it wouldn't need to be tested before it comes.
Okay. We can do that. I mean, if they know they're going to send something over, they can test it.
Yeah. Yeah. Either that or the 5-day pass, whichever works best.
Okay. And then for the vehicles that are not passing for whatever reasons, it have to be driven like 500 miles, and we're having issues with that where we're not being able to meet this 90 days. What happens to those when those finally pass? Then when they do pass, they're going to be updated to compliant?
Yeah, they should be. You might receive a notice from enforcement potentially. I don't want to speak too much on that because we're not part of the enforcement team. But enforcement has started issuing notices of noncompliance that can potentially turn into notices of violation for past due tests. So our advice in those situations is get the vehicle ready as soon as possible and get it tested as soon as possible and get that passing test submitted as soon as possible after that deadline's passed.
Okay. And then vehicles that are added after the 30 or 90 days that would show non-compliant, has that been changed now so that they're compliant, or do those vehicles need to be tested even though it was only an issue with them being added late and not really an emissions issue?
Only if they're in that brand new vehicle group.
Only if they're in the brand new vehicle group.
Yeah,
okay.
If they're not brand new, then yeah, they would need to be tested.
If they're brand No, these are in the system, but they've gone past the 90 days.
Yeah, they would need to be tested. Yeah.
If they're okay, I'm going to rephrase that. If they're brand new trucks, they don't need to be tested. But if they're brand new and added after the 30 days, then they're not compliant as far as the system's concerned. So the question is, so those brand new trucks need to be tested even though technically they're compliant? It's just an issue of being late registered?
Correct. Yeah. In the regulation, it states that the vehicle must achieve compliance requirements within 30 days of purchase for brand new vehicles. So they would need to be reported, have the compliance fee paid, and then they would get essentially that first test waived because they're brand new. If it's more than 30 days after, they would need to be tested.
30 days after?
Yeah, more than 30 days after. So if they're reported within that initial 30-day window, marked as brand new in the system, that first test should be essentially waived because they're brand new. But if it's more than 30 days, then it would need to be tested.
Okay.
If you want to send us an email about this, you're more than welcome to. It might be helpful to have it in writing.
You know what? I'll do that. Okay. It's just, I don't want to take up more of the class's time. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to mute you right now and go to the next question. This would be Renee Flores. You should unmute yourself on your end.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, look, I think Dylan Steiner already answered my question on the Q&A. It was regarding a referee referral that I recently submitted. It just I just haven't received the next steps. I see it's been approved, but I didn't get like an email or anything like that. So I guess it just says to reach out for more information on the appointment.
Yeah, I would email the HDIM email address about that and give us the VIN and whatever vehicle identifying information you can. I can't check on it right in front of me. So it's potential something, went wrong with the form or, so we would work to look through that on our end and potentially work with referee staff to make sure you're in contact with the right person if need be.
Okay, yeah, that's very helpful because I've been checking my emails, my spam, and everything, seeing if I might have missed something. Because I mean, I'm on the website and clicking on it, but it doesn't really direct you where to go. It just takes you to a bunch of other things. So I just want to make sure that I'm gonna doing the correct now and just show up or so.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
a
just send us an
location.
email. Just
Okay.
send us an email, put something in there about, I made a referee appointment, put in your VIN, and we'll be
Okay.
able to look it up.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Renee. Let's go to Neil McQueen. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, Neil, you're unmuted. Can you, we can't hear you though.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Great, thank you. So I might have missed it, but are y'all still planning to go to four times per year in 2027 on the testing?
At this time, yes.
And have you had any blowback from fleets that are already paying for 2 tests a year?
Definitely, and that's, to be expected when the testing frequency rises. In those situations, though, it is strictly for OBD vehicles, and usually in those scenarios, we do like to point out that telematics devices are available to assist with testing. So that might be something you want to look into if you have a larger fleet of OED capable vehicles.
Okay, and just to clarify, you said that will only apply to OBD, not to opacity testing?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, thank you. That's it.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Neil. Do we have any other additional questions for Anthony here? It's like most of the ones that we had online in the Q&A box have been taken care of, but we have no other raised hands at this moment. So we'll wait for just a few more minutes. It is right now. Oh, it's only 2 o'clock. We're still pretty early. So again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand so I can call on you. Otherwise, we'll be turning off here in probably another 5 minutes.
Yeah, Randy, this is Anthony Poggi. I just also want to say to everyone, aside from thank you for joining us today, this is one of the, or if not the quickest way to get your questions answered, is via these webinars that we've been doing monthly. And we typically go an hour or longer, but today with a smaller crowd, like Randy said, we'll give everyone a few more minutes to get their last questions in. But this is a very, very quick way to get your questions answered. So if you have any question, no matter how big or how small, or something pops into your head over the next few minutes, please don't be shy. We'll get it answered almost immediately here and save you some time.
All right, Anthony, I'll let you take over from this point. So I'll mute out.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Uh-huh.
Randy, did you mention I know you just put yourself on mute. Did you mention the next webinar?
Yes, I did. September
Okay.
21st. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And just a reminder to everyone, it will be the same presentation as today, but you're still welcome to join us if you have any additional questions that you need answered next month. All right, everyone, this is going to be the last call here. Q&A box is currently empty. There are no raised hands. Webinar the 21st of September will be our next one of these events in this webinar series. And going once, going twice. If that is it, then I'll wish you all a good afternoon and thank you all for attending. Have a nice day.